So why doesn't your blog actually work? Why won't your podcast grow beyond 500 listeners no matter what you try and do? Why does your CEO keep complaining that her thought leadership never seems to land on the front page of the Wall Street Journal? Each and every one of those is an operating model problem dressed up like a content strategy problem. Or, as I've been saying for a long time now, in most marketing organizations, content is everybody's job and nobody's strategy. Well, let's talk about how to fix that. Hey everybody, welcome back to Rose-Colored Glasses. I'm Robert Rose, a marketing consultant, chief strategy advisor to the Content Marketing Institute, and general troublemaker. This is episode 2 of our 4-part May series on the end of campaign-first marketing. So last week I made the case that modern content-led marketing, well, it's now kind of a merger of owned content, paid distribution, and earned audiences. And making that strategic case, well, that was the easy part. I mean, last week it was pretty easy. I'm not easy, maybe that's the wrong word, but easier said than done for sure. Building the operating model that can actually execute on this kind of idea, that's the hard part. And I know because it's largely what I've been doing at Seventh Bear with clients for the last year, for the last 10 years, and it's the part most marketing organizations are still not built for. That's what today is about. The architecture of what content-led marketing organizations actually look like what changes in the planning cadence, the team structures, the measurement idea, the places where a new operational model either holds up the rest of the marketing house or it doesn't. So let's get into it. So most marketing organizations, they have content operations, right? They've got a CMS, maybe 3 of them, because the marketing team and the digital team and the brand team each pick their own tool. And they have a workflow tool. In fact, they probably have 3 of those as well, right? And a Kanban board. Everybody's got something. And they have a content calendar that's really a to-do list, and a marketing calendar that's built on hope and compromise, and a PR and comms calendar that, well, somebody updates on Mondays of every month that ends in Y. Don't get me wrong. It's also probably a remarkably efficient system for getting individual digital assets out the door, right? These teams, they produce ebooks and blog posts and press releases and sales decks faster than ever. What they don't have is orchestration. Now, orchestration, okay, isn't that just another buzzword? Marketing orchestration, content orchestration. How is that different from any content operation we might have? Here's the distinction. Most everybody has a content operation. In fact, they probably have a content factory. They might even call it a content factory, although they probably give it a fancy term, like the studio or something like that. This is the content operations where everybody in the marketing organization kind of follows their own playbook based on whatever campaigns or initiatives they have running in any given quarter. Content orchestration is different. It's where everybody following the same fabric, an integrated fabric, if you will, an orchestra, if you will, of strategy, priorities, distribution, creativity, and management. Operations, that's execution. Orchestration is an operating system that decides which executions are actually worth running in the first place. That shift shows up across 5 different dimensions: planning and prioritization cadence, team structure, measurement, budget allocation, and executive reporting. In each and every one of those, in a campaign-era operating model and the content-led operating model, well, they behave pretty differently. And the most diagnostic of the 5, in other words, the one that tells you which kind of organization you actually have at the moment, is look at the budget conversation. If your annual or quarterly planning still maps to siloed projects and campaign cycles, perhaps you use the word initiatives, well, then the operating model is still siloed operations. And why? Well, because it has to be. Otherwise, nobody could report on whether we were successful or not. Was this campaign successful? That initiative? That project? Yes, that's the only way we can see to show what's successful. And so there are 4, let's call them moves, if you will, of what teams that are doing that I see making this shift are doing right now. 1, they appoint an editorial council, an arbiter of good, if you will, of priority, of audience, of voice, of harnessing the brand's voice into a strategy. Then they redesign roles of content and marketing around outcomes from integrated efforts rather than outputs of siloed campaigns. They document this playbook. They create standards. They replace the campaign reporting deck with an editorial business review. And critically, This work, this process, this model isn't a replacement. Yeah, we still have to do the product launch campaign. Yes, we still need to do the campaigns of brand in pieces. This work isn't a replacement for what's already might be working. It's new work, an evolution, a new model to layer into it, not a transformation. I'm watching this happen. Literally just finished an engagement with a healthcare company that went through this exact thing. Diagnosing where the operating model actually was, then designing an orchestration framework where it could be, coaching the marketing leaders on the change management piece. It can be done, I promise you. And if your team is staring down a transition like this, the link to the full article is in the post, and I would love to hear how you're navigating this and also how we might help you navigate through this. Then in next week, episode 3, we're going to get into the most dangerous and part of that the marketing leaders most dread. It's not the structure, it's not the build, it's not the team, it's the conversation, the one with executive leadership, how to convince them this is all worth doing to begin with. In the meantime, it's your story. Orchestrate it well. I'll see you next week.